Welcome to Science Access. In today's class, we're talking about index, which has a plural of indices, and the law of indices. So, index or power represents the number of times in which a number multiplies itself. We don't need to talk much about that. Let's just take a look at this example. 2 raised to the power 5. Now, in this 2 raised to the power 5, it simply means 3 is multiplied itself 5 times. 2 raised to the power 5 means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 5 times. 3 is multiplied itself 5 times, which is 243. Now, 2 raised to the power 6 is another number. In this case, 2 is multiplied itself how many times? 6 times. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 64. So, in index, we have the base, which is the 2 here. 2 here is regarded as the base. 3 here is regarded as the base. So the number here at the bottom is regarded as the base, while the power is regarded as index. So another name for index is actually or power or exponent. So another name for index is power or exponent. Please take note of that. Index is the number of times that a base multiplies itself. Index 6 is the number of times that 2 multiplies itself, and in this case 2 is multiplying itself how many times? 6 times. So now let's take a look at the law of indices. Now in the law of indices, the rule 1 or law 1 is a raised to the power m, n raised to the power a raised to the power n equals to a m plus n. Now please take note. A, remember, a is the base. A base that has the power of m, and that same base that have the power of n. Remember, both base must be the same thing. Both base must be the same thing. In this law, both base must be the same thing. So, a is a base here. A is also a base here. They are the same thing. And this is raised to the power of m and the power of what? N. In this case, since both bases are the same thing, what do? You just pick one of it. Then, since this place is multiplication times, you add the two powers together. So that means n plus what? N. We don't need to emphasize that much. Let's just take a look at this simple example. Now, 5 raised to the power 6 times 5 raised to the power 3. In this case, 5 is the base, 6 is the power or index. So, since both bases are the same thing, I'll pick one of the base. And once I pick one of the base, remember, since it's multiplication, according to the law, multiplication, you add the power or the index. So I'll add the two powers together. So 6 plus 3, which is what we have here, 6 plus 3. And 6 plus 3 is actually what? 9. So it means 5 raised to the power what? 9. We can also do it using the elementary method. Now, 5 raised to the power 6 times 5 raised to the power 3. In this case, 5 raised to the power 6 simply means 5 is multiplied itself 6 times. 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Now, there's another times here now. So I can decide to just add 1 times here. 1 times here. 5 raised to the power 3 means 5 is multiplied itself 3 times. 5 times 5 times 5. So the total number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the first, 7, 8, 9 for the second. So if we want to put this in the appropriate format, it's simply 5 raised to the power what? 9. And you can decide to put the final answer there using your calculator, 5 raised to the power 9. All right? So question number 2, or example number 2, we have a raised to the power 4 times a raised to the power 2 times what? A. Now, if you don't have anything here, for example, you just add your 1. Note that. If there's nothing there, it simply means the index is 1. All right? So, because in most cases, you will not see a raised to the power 1, you just see a. So, you on your own, just put 1 as the index. So, since we have the base here as a, the base here as a, the base here as a, what do? You pick 1 as usual. All right? Now, the index here is 4. Here is 2, and here is 1. And remember, it is actually multiplication. So, multiplication, according to law, you change it to what? Addition. You add the powers or the index. So, 4 plus 2 plus 1. That's what we have here. 4 plus 2 plus 1. So, 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. And our a. So, it simply means a raised to the power what? 7. Remember, again, the a is the base, while 7 is what? The index. All right. Now let's take question number 3, which is the last example for this rule. We have 5 index 3, A index 2, 5 index 4, A index 3. We can also use 5 raised to the power of 4. Different words. Now, take note, in this case, we have two base 5 and base A. You can see it here, base 5 and base A. Now, in this case, since we have base 5, let's treat base 5 first. Then we'll now treat that for the A. So let's start. Since we have 5 here and 5 here, we'll pick one 5. And since it's multiplication, I'll have to add the powers of the 5. So that'll be 3 plus 4. 3 plus 4. Now we are done with the first base. The second one, well, we are done with the first part. The second part is, let's treat the A part of it. A is raised to the power of 2 here, or index of 2, and A has the power of 3 here. Since we have A here and A here, we put your A there. The power, since it's multiplication, we also add the power. So 2 plus 3, that's what we have here. So we now have 5, 2, 3 plus 4 is actually 7. And A, 2 plus 3 is what? 5. So this is our final answer. As usual, as I always say, you can decide, this is the easiest way to put your answer, but some will decide to use their calculator to press 5 raised to the power of 7. All right. Now, let's go to law 2 or the rule 2. Rule 2, instead of multiplication, in this case, we have division. So, if we have a base raised to the power of, or having an index of m, divide a base. Remember, both bases are always the same. Remember, both bases, they are the same. They are the same. Remember, both bases are the same. So, you have a base raised to the power of m, or having an index m, divide that same base having an index n. In this case, since it's division, what you just do is what? Instead of addition, you just put subtraction there. Subtract the base. Let's take a look at this example using these same values. But in this case, we are having division sign instead of multiplication. So 5 index, or raised to the power of 6, divide 5 raised to the power of 3. In this case, instead of addition, what do? I just put subtraction. So we have 5, which I'll pick one as usual. I'll pick one of the base. 6 minus 3 is equals to what? 3. So we now have 5 raised to the power of what? 3. Take note of that. Now let's solve it in the elementary way. 5 raised to the power of 6 divide 5 raised to the power of 3. Now remember, 5 raised to the power of 6 is like 5 multiply itself 6 times. Is 5 multiply itself 6 times. 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So this is 6 times. Divide, this is the division sign that we have here. 5 index 3 means 5 is multiplied itself 3 times. 5 times 5 times 5. Remember, this sign is divide, and I'm putting the value there, 5 index 3 under. Now, how do I proceed from here? This will cancel this. This will cancel this. And this will cancel this. So how many 5 do I have left? 1, 2, 3. So now I have 5 times 5 times 5. 5 times 5 multiply itself 3 times is the same thing as 5 raised to the power of 3, or 5 index 3. So we actually have the same answer if you solve it with this method or with this method. But the reason why this using the rule is very important is, in some cases you may have 5 raised to the power of 28 and divide 5 raised to the power of 13. So you may not have to write too much, may not have to write a very long 5 multiply itself. Instead of that, just use the law and solve it in a very easy way. Question number 2. Have 6 x raised to the power of 8 divide x raised to the power of 5, or x index 5. Remember, since it's the division sign that is here, we have to what? Put the minus sign. But note, since there is nothing here, you assume that there is 1 here. Since there is nothing there, you assume that there is 1 here. because actually there's an invisible one here. It's 1x. 1x is the same thing as x. So the first thing that you do is use this 1 to divide 6. You still have the 6. So we are done with this part. We'll now go to the part of x. Now, since the base here and the base here, they are the same thing, I'll put 1x here. Now, here is x raised to the power of 8, or raised to the power of 8, yes. X raised to the power of 5. So I will now have 8 minus 5. Remember, division sign means subtraction sign in the terms of power. All right, so 8 minus 5, what will be our answer? It's actually 3. So we now have 6x raised to the power of what? 3. 6x raised to the power of 3. All right, so please take note of that. Now, the third question is 8a raised to the power of 3 divide 4a raised to the power of 2. Okay, now take note that this same thing is the same thing as 8a raised to the power of 3 divide 4a raised to the power of 2. So it's the same thing. All right, take note of that. Now we now have, first, as usual, just use this to divide this first. So we now use 4 to go into it how many times? 4 here, 1, and 4 going into it is 2. So that's the reason why we have 2 here. In this case here, since both bases are the same thing, I'll pick one. 3, this divide will change to minus what? 2. So 3 minus 2. That's what we have here. 3 minus 2. Remember, it's because it's the divide sign that will have what? Minus here. So 3 minus 2 is 1. 2a raised to the power of 1 is the same thing as 2a. Now we can decide to solve this question in another way using the elementary format. Here we have 8. This is 8. A raised to the power of 3 means a is multiply itself 3 times. 8 times a times a times a, which is 8a raised to the power of 3. Now here we have 4a squared. 4 times a times a. What do? We just simply divide. This cancel out this, cancel out this. 4 here 1, 4 here is 2. What do we have? 2a is left, and that's our answer. It's the same thing as this. Let's go to the next law. Now, let's take a look at the third law, or rule 3 of the law of indices. A base raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Let's just take a look at this example. 8 raised to the power of 0. Anything 1 million raised to the power of 0 is 1. 100 raised to the power of 0 is 1. 1 billion raised to the power of 0 is 1. So let's now take a look at the second example. Now, realize arrow y square all over this, ab all over this, and all that. Now, take a look, and everything is inside the bracket, but raised to the power of 0. Once you see that everything is raised to the power of 0, it is actually what? 1. Please take note of that. Now, let's take a look at the third example. A base a raised to the power of 6 divide a raised to the power of 6. Remember, divide is subtraction. It's minus. So you have to subtract the power. Okay? So both bases are the same thing. So I will pick one. Then because it's divide, we subtract. So 6 minus 6 is what? 0. So we now have a raised to the power of 0. A raised to the power of 0. And anything raised to the power of 0 is what? 1. Remember that. All right. Now the question number 4, or example number 4, we have a raised to the power of 6 times a raised to the power minus 6. Now remember, times is addition. You add the powers. Okay, so both bases are the same thing. We'll pick one. 6 plus, remember this is minus 6. So 6 plus bracket minus 6. Now, plus times minus is actually minus. So we now have 6 a raised to the power of 6 minus what? 6. Or a raised to the power of 6 minus what? 6. So 6 minus 6 is 0. Again, we have a raised to the power of 0, and our final answer is 1. I'm just changing the pattern of the question so that no matter how you're giving the question, you can easily answer it. Now, let's take a look at the last example in this rule. A raised to the power minus 9 divide a raised to the power minus 9. Now, take a look at this. Because both bases are the same thing, we'll pick one as usual. Now, remember, this divide is minus sign. So, minus 9 is here, minus which is this divide, minus, then bracket minus 9. All right, you close the bracket. Minus times minus is actually plus. So we now have a minus 9 plus 9. Remember, this minus times this minus is now this plus. So minus 9 plus 9 is actually what? 0. So we now have a raised to the power 0, and our final answer again is what? 1. So there are various ways you can just play with it. No matter how the sign or the trick, the way they put the question, you can just play with the question. They are very easy. All right. Now let's take a look at rule 4. Rule 4, a base raised to the power of minus any power. Remember, the power is carrying a negative sign. You just remove that negative sign, put 1 all over that same thing. But remember, the denominator in this case is no longer carrying a minus sign. The reason why you have 1 all over this is because of this minus sign. So a base raised to a negative power is equal to 1 all over that base raised to that power, but the negative sign will now disappear. All right. Remember again, a base raised to a negative power simply means you put 1 all over that base raised to that power, but the negative sign is no longer there. So let's just take a look at example. A raised to a negative power of 7 is equal to 1 all over a raised to the power of 7. So as simple as that. The negative sign, you just put 1 all over that same thing, but no more negative sign. That's the law. All right, let's use this. Another one is 5 raised to a negative power of 3 is equal to 1 all over 5 raised to the power of 3. All right, note 5 raised to the power of 3 is 5 times 5, 25 times 5 again is what? 125. So we now have 1 all over 125. So these are very simple laws of indices that you can apply. The other laws will be treated in the part 2 of this video, but take this assignment and play with them. Remember, this assignment I'm going to be giving you will involve applying sometimes more than one law, because questions are given and you need to apply more than one law. So this assignment is actually, you may need more than one law to solve the questions. All right, take a look at this assignment. You can see it on the board. A raised to a negative power of 5 times a raised to 3 times a. So just solve assignments 1, 2, 3, and 4. Note that in the part 2 of this indices series, or law of indices series, I'll explain the other laws that I have not touched and solve this question. So you can attempt this question, screenshot your answer and snap your answer and send it to the mail that is being displayed on the board. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to support this channel. Thank you.